Colt McCoy, we know about his story from Jim Net High School to what he did at Texas and, of course, in the NFL now with the Arizona Cardinals, and he will be inducted into the Texas High School Football Hall of Fame in Waco on Saturday. Colt, thank you very much for your time. What did you shoot? What was your score today?
Well, I had my son out there and a couple buddies, so we were just hacking around. We didn't actually keep score.
All right.
I don't know. Not great. I mean, it's super windy out there.
Yes, it is. What does Saturday, when you got the call, and we just had, in fact, Rodney Allison on, and of course Joey McGuire, some others are going to be inducted. What does this mean to you to be a part of what is a huge deal in Texas, the Texas High School Football Hall of Fame?
Well, I mean, I'm first of all humbled, grateful. I mean, I'm being inducted as the 2000s candidate, and I mean, just the caliber of guys I played with in college that were from Texas, and the guys I'm playing with in the NFL that are from Texas. I mean, I know they all had amazing high school careers, so I'm proud to represent that era. But at the same time, I'm just like, man, I'm just shocked a little bit. I mean, I'm so thankful that they chose me. You know, my dad was my high school coach. You know, all the coaching staff that he put together around me and all my friends and teammates in high school was just first class. You know, I'm still friends with all of them. And, you know, I sort of feel like I'm representing all of them in a way. And, you know, I'm so grateful, man, coming from a small town out in West Texas to have this induction alongside all these other, you know, awesome football stars is it's pretty cool.
I've wanted to ask you this question for a long time, and this is the first time I've gotten to interview you, Colt. But Colt obviously was a popular name in Texas before you, but after you, in the city of Austin, it became a very popular name. How often have you met someone that's walked up to you and said, "This is our son Colt. We named him after you"?
Man, I'm telling you, it happens a lot more than you think.
No, I think it happens a lot.
Just the other day, somebody came up and said they named their son McCoy. And I was like, oh, wow, I normally get Colt, and this was McCoy. But, you know, I guess my parents picked a good name. I don't know. It's pretty – I did one time. I lived in Austin about 5 or 6 years ago in a neighborhood, and the first night we moved in, there was this guy saying, Colt, Colt, come over here. And it was his dog. And I thought he was yelling at me in my front yard. And it completely threw me for a loop. I turned around and walked right back to my house. I was like, you're not going to believe what's happened. It was pretty funny.
Colt, there was some news, obviously, with Arizona getting Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown from Baltimore over the weekend with the NFL draft. And how often do you pay attention to what's going on during the draft now?
Man, I tell you what, I love the draft. I'm really a college football fan. I don't know all these guys that are coming through, but during the football season, I'm watching a lot of college football on Saturdays. I love the game. Getting Marquise to come to Arizona, I thought that was a huge deal for us. You know, we lost Christian Kirk this year to the Jaguars. You know, so just having somebody who can take the top off defenses, that's the name of the game in the league. You just got to have somebody that can stretch the field, and he obviously can do that at an extremely high level. You know, he and Kyle were teammates in college, so I think that is going to be a big fit for us. And you know, I like the tight end we drafted in the second round. You know, he seems like he's like a true Y, right? Stick his nose in there a little bit, block, run some zone, but you know, can also be a matchup problem out wide. So I mean, I think both those guys are going to step in and play big roles for us. You know, he and Zach at tight end, let's get some more 12 personnel. So, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I thought overall the draft was great.
Colt, you've been in the league for well over a decade now. I mean, you're about to enter year number 13 in the NFL, which that sounds crazy to me because I think you graduated like 5 years ago. So I only imagine how crazy that is to you. But what has been the secret to maintaining that success and maintaining the livelihood in the NFL for you?
Man, I think the NFL is really crazy, right? I mean, you know the longevity. I mean, how often guys stay in the game. You know, the lifespan of NFL players like 2.5 years or something. I think everybody's career is different. There's obviously been, you know, quarterbacks that were much more talented than me that didn't make it very long. And there's a lot of different circumstances and situations that play into that. And I think for me, once I left Cleveland, I just really committed myself to figuring out how to play the NFL game. It's a lot different from college. And honestly, I've stuck around long enough. I feel like the last couple of years have been the best years of my career. And I've learned how to operate, how to manage a game. I almost approach these games as if I'm a coach, like how I would go through the script, like how I would call this game. And, in my room with Kyler, just, bringing just some experience, but also just knowledge of like how I think this game's going to go and what I see the defense is doing against us to stop us. And, really diving into the X's and O's. And, I think that's really helped me as a quarterback too. I know I can still play. I feel like I'm in a great place in Arizona. I love our quarterback room. I love our team. And, again, I think for me, I'm just grateful to still be going.
You got the Texas the year they won the national championship. You were the scout team quarterback against one of the most loaded teams of all time. What was that like?
It was very intimidating. That's what it was. I was coming from Net High School, which was great. We won a bunch of games, but the talent and the caliber of guys that I was around at UT when I stepped into that program was just like I'd never seen anything like it. Just Vince Young, and you can go down the list on both sides of the ball. And the best thing that ever happened to me going to college was being able to redshirt. I know guys don't like to do that now, and it wasn't that fun then. But looking back on my career, man, it just never would have played out the same way if I didn't have that extra year. And so I spent that on the scout team. I spent in the weight room. I played all the sports in high school. So it was the first time I ever had an off-season program. And I put on a lot of weight. I hit a little growth spurt. Things just, the timing was, worked out perfect. How many guys get to play 4 years in college nowadays? It's very rare, especially at a prestigious university like Texas. I know we haven't been good over the last few years, but we're still a well-known school and team. And so I think the message from me is just I'm grateful. I'm humbled that it's worked. I've worked hard and I've had great people around me, but things have worked out that were out of my control, and just very grateful for that.
By the way, one of the notes about Colt McCoy at Jim Ned, they played for the 2003 state championship, played San Augustine, didn't win the game. San Augustine was coached by Lynn Graves, former SFA college university football coach, and a good friend of mine, by the way, back in the day as well. Colt McCoy will be inducted into the Texas High School Football Hall of Fame coming up Saturday, along with others. And, of course, we have him right now on Sikkim 365 Radio.
Colt, we would be remiss on a site that's owned by 3 Baylor alums and a show that's run by them to not ask you about your wife, Rachel, who she and I overlapped a little bit. When I first started here in radio, she was in the sports information department working football then. And so just for a little while, and then, obviously she married you and left Waco. But curious to know how that is on, Baylor versus Texas events, whether it's football, basketball, whatever. How do you guys, line up the family and you split the kids and all that stuff?
Right. Baylor has had all the bragging rights over the last 2 years. Let's be honest. Winning the national championship in basketball, pretty much having your way against us in football. It just was not like that when I was in college. I never thought I would see that. But good for Baylor. Those guys are playing at a really high level. They're super well coached. And so we got to get our act together, down here. But in the house, my kids can throw up the hook'em sign. They can also do sick 'em bears, kind of annoying, but it's part of it. But Rachel loved her time at Baylor. She's a wonderful mother. We have 4 kids now. And just pretty busy around here now. I'm surprised you can't hear them all yelling in the background.
We've heard a little scream or two, but it's been good. It's been good.
Yeah.
Colt, you talked about, you've referred to it a couple times. Texas struggling a little bit over the last few years. Steve Sarkisian obviously now in place heading into year 2. It's a different world in college football as well. Teams can get better quicker, I think, than ever before. But what are your thoughts? There seems to be an optimism bubbling with Quinn Ewers and Bijan and Worthy and all those guys. How are you feeling about the Longhorns at this point?
Yeah, look, I think we have to lower expectations a little bit, right? I mean, we wanted to go undefeated last year and get into the college football playoff, and we didn't have a single guy drafted. So, like, let's just, I mean, let's be honest for a second. Like, that just, you can't win 10 games if you don't have players that are getting drafted. That's first thing. I think second thing, like, Sark's a great coach. He's got a great staff. He's getting the players that he wants in there. You know, I think transitions like this, people don't understand. They take a little bit of time. I mean, look at Baylor a couple years ago when your coach got there, right? They needed a year to figure it out, and then all of a sudden they're in the Big 12 championship. So I'm not saying that's what's going to happen to UT, but I do see like a transition period of a few years where you're just, you know, kind of getting your program back where you think it needs to be, and as far as talent. So let's just start there. And so, yeah, I mean, getting the quarterback, you know, Bijan's obviously, you know, an amazing running back, Worthy's, you know, All-American receiver. I mean, they have pieces. It's just a matter of, you know, they didn't get extra bowl practices, right? They had a great spring, but and their expectations inside that building are high. But, you know, I think there's definitely a room for growth from last year. It's just these things take a little bit of time. And being in the football world, you realize that. But as a fan, it's like, man, you want to see these, you know, immediate changes and, you know, being back in the, you know, top 10 conversations all the time, right? So, you know, we'll see. I think, you know, from my observation, it looks like they've got a good recruiting class. They had a good spring. You know, everybody this time of year thinks they're going to win the Big 12, so we'll see.
Does the logo, because of preseason ratings and because of this and that, do you think sometimes that's not an albatross because it's one of the maybe premier logos in college sports, but do you feel sometimes because of the logo that the expectations are out of whack and that it almost puts a burden on the team?
I mean, I guess it could, but you know, I mean, the expectation when I was there was to win every game, and yeah. I don't think that's changed. I just think that they just haven't been able to accomplish that, and maybe that's a culture thing, a fit thing, a coaching thing. Maybe we've been through several coaches now. I don't know, but it does seem to me like it feels pretty stable in the time that I've been around this spring, and I think everybody's looking forward to this year. And you know, we play Alabama week 2. We'll see how that goes, and then hopefully we can compete in the Big 12 a little bit. We had our chances last year. We just couldn't close out games. Mm-hmm. We had leads in most of them. So, the ball bounces our way a few times, and the players get a little bit of confidence. That's usually how it works, and then all of a sudden you have a pretty good year.
How much trash talk is there between you and Kyler Murray at times?
Well, I mean, you have a Red Raider coaching us.
That's true.
You have a guy playing Oklahoma.
Yeah.
A Longhorn, old washed up Longhorn sitting in the corner. So I mean, it's decent. I mean, I talked a lot of trash when we were up 28 in the first half.
Yeah, I was going to ask.
You know, like it just came back to haunt me. But I mean, it's a great room. You know, lots of Big 12 pride in there. Man, we love the Big 12. We watch all the games, and Baylor's pulling their weight. Man, you guys are just consistently playing at a high level, which is great. I mean,
yeah,
awesome.
They have been playing great. Colt, you mentioned the Big 12, but you're going to have to start now talking about the SEC here pretty soon, huh?
Hey, he's going to be an SEC Hall of Famer.
Yeah,
I guarantee
right,
it. I guarantee you will be. Yeah.
Oh man, I tell you what, the SEC deal is. I don't know how I feel about it. The only thing that I'm happy about is bringing back the A&M game. You know, that's great for the state. That's great for both universities. You know, I grew up watching that game on Thanksgiving, right? So I'm happy about that. You know, we'll see about the rest of it.
Were you ever doubt at all that you were going to end up at Texas? How did that go? Was that pretty immediate once that started, that when you got on people's radar? Mac Brown, of course, was having a great run at the time.
Man, it's crazy. I mean, I still, when I talk to friends or family, I still sometimes shake my head at just how I got to Texas. I mean, it just doesn't make sense in my brain. You know, I qualified for the regional track meet, and I got asked to go to the Texas like 1-day summer camp, and I basically had to choose like what I wanted to do. So, I ended up picking the camp, calling the third place guy, telling him to come take my spot, and we went to camp. And when I first got there, I was like with guys who weren't offered or expected to get offered. I was kind of in the back, and I started throwing around. I went with Jordan Shipley. Jordan was a year ahead of me. He was already signed, or I guess committed. And by the end of the day, I had worked my way up to the other group, but nobody had a clue. I don't even know if I was ranked. I don't know if I was even on Rivals at the time. And Coach Brown pulled us up in his office afterwards and kind of just said, "I just want to get to know you guys." And then nothing really happened. I thought it was great, and I thought I threw the ball good, but I didn't think I did anything out of the ordinary, right? Well, we drive home. That's a long drive from Jim Neb, from Buffalo Gap all the way to Austin. And so we drive home, and then the next day we wake up Sunday to go to church, and there was a FedEx envelope on the front porch. And we opened it up, and Coach Brown had given me a written scholarship offer.
Wow.
To change my life. And that's kind of how it happened. And at that point, I was like, I loved it. So we went back and met with him and all that, committed. But then, you got, 50 offers from all these other schools who, once Texas offered, it was like, there was a lot going on from then. But at that point, I knew that's what I wanted to do.
That's awesome. 45-8 career record, Colt McCoy at Texas. It played for a state championship at Jim Ned, 13th year in the NFL. I hope you don't mind me asking the question, how long did it take for you to get over the championship game loss to Alabama because of how things went down?
Yeah, that's I don't know if you'll ever get over it, right? To this day, I still, pretty much daily do rehab or PT or versions of strengthening around that area that I hurt in that game. I'm constantly reminded of it.
Wow.
But I think more than that, like I got over it for myself. I came back my senior year. I could have gone out as a junior because I felt like I wanted to win a national championship and I wanted to have a chance to play in it. And because I had held a clipboard when we won it when I was a freshman, and I knew it was going to be back in the Rose Bowl. I loved all my teammates. We'd just been through a lot together. We were the smallest class in UT history. Like there was just a lot of things that I loved, and I think what hurts the most for me is the fact that we all didn't do it together. Yeah, I got hurt, but that was also the first time that most of my teammates had played with anybody else. I had played for 4 years. They hadn't listened to a play in the huddle from anybody else. We didn't never practice that situation. We didn't I just felt bad for all my other teammates who it was out of their control, and for my coaches. This game is so hard to win. And to go 13-0 was a grind. We had a bunch of freshmen playing, a bunch of young guys, and we figured out we willed our way there. And we all felt great going into the game. And, I still hurt for all my teammates and coaches because I know what it takes to do that. And, I think we would have got it done. And I still feel bad about that I was the one that got hurt and kind of, didn't get it done for everybody. And injuries happen, man. You play football, there's 100% chance you're going to get hurt. So you just hope that it's not in a situation like that. But I've grown from it. I've learned from it, and you know what? It's opened up a lot of doors for me to, tell people about sort of, who I am at my core and, what matters most. And I'm thankful for that.
I don't think there's any question. What you just said about that is what people know about Colt McCoy. Incredible. Appreciate you. Can't wait to see you Saturday at the Texas High School Football Hall of Fame induction. You've earned it across the board. Colt, thank you very much for giving us more time than I asked for, and we'll see you soon.
Okay. Hey, see you guys Saturday. Thank you. And again, very grateful for this. It's pretty cool.
It's absolutely something you earned. Colt McCoy, Jim Ned High School, University of Texas. 45 all-time wins. Kellen Moore eventually broke that record. Dozens of records at the University of Texas, and also now 13 years in the NFL with the Cardinals now in Arizona.
Yeah, if you're not a UT fan, you can't listen to that interview because, it's like, Man, I think I like that guy. He's, but in all seriousness, I mean, what a great dude and
Absolutely.
a great combo. And there's a few things that just kind of sparked my interest there. That Alabama game, obviously, I mean, the SEC had won like the previous 3 titles, I believe. Like LSU and Florida were in their bag at that point. But that really does feel like that was the absolute, like, we're going towards the SEC and there's no looking back, was that game.
Yeah.
Because if Texas wins that game, the Alabama dynasty is probably still happening, but it's not happening the way that it did happen.
Well, it was at least slowed down.
Yes, it's at least delayed by a year or what have you. So, I mean, that was a turning point not only for Texas, that was a turning point in college football, period. And again, Florida and LSU were winning titles previous to that, but for all the talk about the Big 12 hadn't won something since then, I mean, that they very well could have in 2009, and that was just a really unfortunate sequence of events, and that would have been one hell of a game to watch if he had been healthy, Like, he went out so early that had we been able to see a full 4 quarters,
Yeah, you don't
I
know.
know there's Texas fans that have convinced themselves that believe 100% with their heart they would have won that game if Colt's healthy, so we'll never know. But that was definitely of interest. The SEC Hall of Famer thing, I joke with him, that's absolutely going to happen. Vince Young is going to be an SEC Hall of Famer. Cedric Benson, Earl Campbell, Ricky Williams, because we've already seen them do it with A&M and Missouri. They put them in there. Dat Wynn's an SEC Hall of Famer. Never played a down in the SEC. So
I don't know if he played more than a few downs against an SEC team in 4 years.
Exactly. It's kind of funky, but I mean, he'll be an SEC Hall of Famer, even though he never even came close to playing there. And then the other interesting part, the fact that injury still bothers him.
No, yeah,
that's incredible.
I still have treatment on that even to this day.
Yeah, that's wild.
We need to break for John Machota. Just a little bit on the